community partners. We'd like to start, and if you have a representative, when I call your club's name, please stand. The Galveston Island Pachyderm Club. I-45 now. Yep. TJ! Y'all, give a round of applause for TJ. He is everywhere. The League of Women Voters of Galveston. Have they made it here yet? No. And LULAC. I know we've got Representative Ben. Thank you so much for being here. We'd also like to extend a special thank you to our friends here at the Galveston Urban Ministries for their hospitality. We love this place. We cut a ribbon at this place. Y'all knew I was going to take more time because we are in this place of goodness. So Brandon, and I've made some friends, Miss Erica and your friends, please come over. This is her first speaking appearance, and we talked about fear and how fear will paralyze us. And so she is not fearful today, and she is going to tell you about the Gum Youth Cafe. Miss Erica, this is your moment. Shine, okay? There you go. Let's step up here. She's practiced once.
Hi, I'm Erica, and today we're here with Galveston Urban Ministries, and we're having a cafe back in the corner where we're selling snacks and drinks and food.
Frito pie!
Yeah, Frito pie.
Yes. And tell us what you're raising this money for. The Gum Youth Cafe is raising money for what?
We're raising money for camp. The camp is called Stony Creek, and basically what we do at Stony Creek is we learn more about Jesus for the ones who want to learn more about Jesus and the ones who don't know about Jesus.
Amen. And why? And one more question. How important is this place to you?
This place is really important to me because I've been coming here for almost my whole life.
And how old are you?
I am 15. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
15 years you've been coming here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I think you're going to be an exceptional speaker. Okay? That took a lot of courage. We're so proud of you. Give her a round of applause.
Yeah. So I'm Brandon Williams. I'm the executive director for Galveston Urban Ministries. We're super glad you guys are here in this space. Many of you knew this space back when it was St. Peter's. Maybe you broke in here and put some graffiti on the walls. Just a quick thing about GUM, we are in the business of empowerment. Like our students right now are raising money because we believe that everybody has something to give, and they are the ones raising the money. They're the ones doing community service to pay their way to camp. And so we do this work all over Galveston. We bring in mission teams here to serve the island, about 700 a year. We help students get college applications and get into college. We help parents be able to parent better and do financial aid classes. We work across the board, and we even do training on poverty alleviation. So if you have a business or you have a nonprofit and you want to know how to do this work better, man, bring us along. We would love to help you with that. So thank you guys for being here. We're excited for this for tonight. Don't punch anybody. It's going to be great. Yeah, thanks.
We're not punching anybody. We just prayed. We're not going to punch anybody. All right. It's a great honor to introduce my friend, Dr. Bix Rathburn, who is a past chair of the Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce and still continues to serve us so well. So I turn it over to you, sir.
Yes, good evening, folks. And let me apologize. I'm going to be sitting and talking this way all night, so you get to look at my lovely back all night. So I apologize for doing that. And we're very glad that you're here tonight. Thank you for being a part of this. And I want to reiterate what Gina just said to these candidates. We know that politics has become a contact sport, and we know what it takes to put your hat in the ring. And for that, we appreciate you tonight. We appreciate and understand that each one of you are dedicated to a better Galveston. You may have different ideas. You may disagree on how you might get from point A to point B, but you're all here for the same reason, and that's to make a better Galveston. And for that, and for your willing to be a part of this process, we do thank you. Give them one more round of applause, if you would, please. Last night we had a great event for Districts 1, 2, and 3, and it went off like a hitch, and we appreciate very much the candidates last night staying on time and working with us so we can get in and out. And I will tell you, we have twice as many candidates tonight as we did last night. So We're going to go through this as quickly but as efficiently as possible. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly review a few guidelines to ensure a respectful and productive forum. The Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce is a private organization, and as such, we reserve the right to set and enforce the rules of conduct for the forum. We anticipate no problems tonight, but we just need to say this. To ensure that every candidate and every guest has a fair and respectful experience, we ask that all attendees observe basic decorum throughout the event. This includes refraining from outbursts, disruptive behaviors, applauding, or disturbances of the procedure. Please be aware that this is a zero-tolerance event. Anyone who disrupts the forum will be asked to leave immediately. There are no warnings. We appreciate everyone's cooperation with this. Now, let's get on to the event. Let me briefly walk you through tonight's forum, how we will do tonight. This is not a debate. This is a forum. We're presenting your ideas and your suggestions on how Galveston can become stronger, better, and serve its residents to a greater extent. There will be no rebuttals. All questions this evening have been developed and submitted by the Chamber's Advocacy Committee and the Board of Directors. We will not be taking questions from the floor. You will have an opportunity to visit each candidate following the forum, and we encourage the audience to do so. So we kindly ask that you hold your questions until that time. Beginning with District 4, each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening introduction. During that time, please briefly share why you're running for office, 2 or 3 priorities for your district and for Galveston, and what makes you the very best candidate to represent your district. For the question portion, we will rotate between the starting districts in order of responses. The candidate who answers first on one question will move to the next question on the following question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. We have 5 questions. You'll have 2 minutes to respond to each question after 3 minutes to give your opening statement. Robert, sitting next to me, is serving as our timekeeper. He will notify you when your time is nearly up. Robert, you want to push the button to show them what it looks like when their time's up?
So you'll get a 1 minute, and then watch the light. When it's on yellow, you've got 1 minute. When you go to red, you need to stop, and I'll say stop.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. You know, for more than 180 years, the Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce has remained committed to our mission to promote and advocate for business and community development. Tonight's council forum is an extension of that mission. Our goal is simple: to provide a respectful, informative forum where our business community and residents can hear directly from each of you seeking to lead our city. Because when business thrives, our entire community thrives. With all that, let's get started. We're going to start with introductions. Remember, why are you running for office? 2 or 3 priorities for your district and for Galveston, and what makes you the very best candidate to represent your district. We'll start with District 4, and Alex, it's you. No, there's a microphone right there behind the podium. I apologize. Thank you, Alex.
I'm Alex Poretto. I'm running for re-election for District 4. I get a lot of grief because I don't have an opponent this time, but it still doesn't change my commitment to Galveston. 2 things I'm really running on this time are fiscal responsibility and respect for the taxpayers. We can't keep raising your taxes and give the same old line about we're going to make the island more affordable. It just does not work. This last year, Councilman Rawlins, Marie Robb, Mayor Pro Tem, and myself did not vote for a tax rate increase. We were told we're going to be at 109 days in reserves. Today, we're at 124 days. So there's something there that we're not seeing from our city administration, and we need to be more transparent with the public on our budgeting. We need to be more transparent on how we can stretch our dollar. We need to be more transparent overall. Over the last 2 years, I've really worked on communication with my district, which I think it's a huge testament, all the support I'm getting. And, we really have to start respecting one another, the businesses that come here. We can't vilify people. That is another reason I ran. I see how people can be vilified in this community, and it's wrong. We really need to stand up for one another because we're all on this island together, and we all have to move forward together and have one unified agenda, which is Galveston. So if you want to know more, alexporetto.com. I'd like to thank my wife for really letting me do this all the time that it does take. My mom and my Nani Rosemarie are here too, so I had to say thank you for them for showing up. So thank you all again, and let's give everybody a round of applause for wanting to serve.
Yep. Thank you, Alex. We will move now to District 5, and in this order, Michael, Beau, then Charlie.
All right, howdy. I'm Michael Niebuhr. I'm also running for District 5 along with my two other opponents. As somebody who was born and raised here, this island's my home, but I look at it more than just I was born and raised here. I've lived here. I chose to live here, and I look at that both as BOIs and IBCs. Everybody in this room has a commitment and a stake in Galveston. I'm running because people asked me to run. There's nothing about this that is going to benefit me, but I look to my community who are looking for leadership to represent our island and our district. That's always why I've done anything I've done in my career. It's to work for the people around me. I have a career in nonprofit work. I have a career in state government work. I've always put my efforts to help my community. My current role with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension gives me the opportunity to be in the public, to work with coastal communities, and to really understand their needs when it comes to flood mitigation planning. And I think there's a thing that I can bring to this table that's really important is we all know the issues we're facing with infrastructure. I can bring that ability because I've talked to communities up and down the Texas coast. I know what the small communities need, and I know what the big communities need. The resources that are lacking in this city can come from partners at the state and the federal level, and we need to be able to provide that. I look to our neighborhoods and our communities, and I see places when I grew up, it's different than now. There's so many amazing advances we've had in this city, but there's a lot that we're lacking. We are losing people. We're losing families. We're losing our workforce. We're losing our children. That's because we're doing things wrong in this city, and we need to figure out how to change that. We need to bring our communities back. We need to bring our families back, and ultimately we need to bring our workforce back. And I hear it all the time from people is how do we make sure that we expand and the longevity of this island, and it's getting the families back in this island. Because our families are our children, they're in our schools, they're in our workforce, they're providing the jobs that we desperately need on this island that we ask for every day. That's the restaurant staff when we want to go out to eat. It's our firefighters who are fighting our buildings. It's our teachers. All of those industries are leaving the island because they can't afford to live here. Cost of living is not just about the price of homes. It's about taxes and it's about insurance. And the city leadership can have an effect on all of those. We need to be able to work with partners and find a way to make sure that our leaders are doing what we need to do to make sure that our next generation and the generation after that are there. This job is coming from me because I care about my community. It's something I can offer that some of my neighbors said, we can't do this, would you do it? And so that's why I'm running, to help the people around me, to help my island, and to help my community.
Thank you. Beau?
Hello, I'm Beau Rawlins. I'm your current District 5 City Councilman for the City of Galveston. I'm a lifelong Galvestonian. My family dates back to the 1870s. My grandkids are 8th generation in a row. And why does that matter? It doesn't matter that I'm a BOI. It matters because I'm proud of my family and proud of the heritage. It matters because I have a history here and I've seen the evolution. I've experienced the growth pains that we all have in this room. We are looking for answers, and there's multiple things to balance when those questions arise. I am married to my beautiful wife, Renee, and thank you for all that you've done to put up with this so far. I appreciate you very much. Together, we've raised 6 kids here in Galveston, all of which have graduated from Ball High. And the reason I'm running is to make sure that we have a Galveston that they will love just as much as I do. They've loved it so far. I just hope that we can continue to be a place to live, work, and have a good time for people that number in the 9 million just 45 minutes away and depend on us to offer that. I will tell you that my leadership style over the last 2 years, I hope that you have seen that I've got in, I've learned, I've stood up, I've stood against. I have a business, a local construction business here in Galveston that's been here for 23 years. I traveled from the East End, where I grew up, on 17th Street, all the way to the West End at San Luis Pass. This island provides for my family, and I intend to continue to always provide for this island. It's very important for me to continue the work that we have initiated. Marie, Alex, and I have stood our ground, and we have asked for things to be transparent. We've demanded to look at efficiencies. We can all do a better job, especially with our city government, with efficiencies. There are things that we look for on this island that we can see, that we can visualize, that we can experience. We give up our island each and every day to all the people that we host, I guess you'd say. But we are the ones that travel our streets that have multiple potholes. We're the ones that worry about drainage. And those are things that we want to see some improvements on. And I agree that those are things that we try to hold and working towards holding our city accountable to. I will say that I'm very proud of the things that we've accomplished over the past 2 years. I have a list of many things that I'm sure we'll talk about this evening. I, again, appreciate your support. I've been honored to serve as your District 5 City Councilman the last 2 years, and I'm depending on being able to serve to continue the work that we've done over the next 2 years. Thank you all.
Perfect. Thank you. Charlie.
I'm Charlie Worthen. I'm a commercial banker at Moody Bank. So I have the financial wherewithal to move this city along. You know, my dad said at one time, who was also a banker in town, if you want to see change, make the change you want to see. Nobody else will do it for you. So that's why I'm running. I'm running to see changes that we need made. You know, I have not had the opportunity to go out and fix streets, to go out and fix drainage, and to go out and bring new people into town. However, I would like to do that when I'm on council. The industry that I'm in currently, we help people build their dreams. We help people build investment homes. We help people. So I'm used to helping people, and I'm used to doing good work with good people. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and you can count on it that we will make changes once I'm elected. And as you could read in the paper over the weekend, my daughter wrote an incredible article without being prompted to do so. And that just makes me a very proud father. And I have an incredible family here, and this is all for them. I want Galveston to be a community they can grow up in and be proud of, go to school, and then come back and work in their community. This is something that I have done, and I'm proud to be back here, and I would love to see them be back here working hard and enjoying the community that we have built together. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Now, moving on to District 6, let me remind you of the question, why are you running for office? Please give us 2 to 3 priorities for your district and for Galveston, and what makes you the best candidate. For District 6, we will start with Daryl, move to Shane, Jason, Scott, and George. We'll start with Daryl. Thank you. Yeah, we got to keep you on your toes. If we don't do that.
When you're a W, that's...
We're going to move you around during the night, so don't you worry.
That's rare. So
Thank you.
let me know when I'm good.
I will.
It's just coming back.
Yeah. So it'll be Shane, Jason, Scott, and George. It'll come back that way. Please, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you all for coming tonight. Galveston is the jewel of Texas, right? And the West End is the jewel of Galveston. I'm running for City Council District 6, and I'm going to explain a little bit why I think I'm the best candidate to keep the West End first. So I'm going to do that by talking about a few of my experiences, and then how I want to address them as a councilman, which addresses why I'm running. So, first of all, I have been a property-paying tax person in the West End for over 2 decades, right? So what? Well, I'm a businessman. I write a check. I want to know where it's going. We've heard a lot about that. I'm no different than anybody else. Second, in those 20 years, I have had 2 properties that I'm paying taxes on. The first was when we were raising our family with a beach house in Pirates Beach. The second, where we live now, which is in Lafitte's Cove on the bay side. Why do I say that? Because I believe the West End is not a homogeneous thing called the West End. It is a distinct set of living communities, all of which are bound by the love we have of our beaches, our bays. I like to say our birds because I'm an alliteration guy, but our wildlife. That's why we are on the West End. That's what we all love. But each community is different. Pirates Beach does not have the same needs as Lafitte's Cove. The breakers and the condos do not have the same needs as Sea Isle, and I want to address that. So that's my first platform, community resources. How do we bring those resources, those checks we pay, back to the community in which we live to solve their priority needs? The second piece, and I'm going to address my beach house and then my bay house, which I've moved from. So when my son was growing up, we lived on the beach, as I said before. We saw great things, the family lifestyle that we all love, the reason we're there, the carefree, safe environment for raising our kids, our grandkids, generations. I also saw the bad. I watched 2 rows of houses be destroyed. I watched numerous dunes disappear. I watched the geotube get wiped out. If we're going to preserve our resources and our West End way of life, we have to do better. It's not just one-off projects. It's not the GLO. It's working with the state to pass a Texas Beaches Act, Texas Sand for Texas beaches. Third thing, on the Bay, my wife and I both live there now. We're the people that people are talking about. We came from Austin to live in Galveston to work full-time. Why did we do that? How do we keep it livable? I'm sure I'll address those questions as the 5 questions that come in more detail. But that's what y'all want, and that's what I can bring to the table. I am the face of the coming to Galveston to live for the right reasons. I started with Galveston as the jewel of Texas. The West End is the jewel of Galveston. I believe that. And Daryl Williams, a vote for Daryl Williams for Council 6, will keep the West End first. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daryl. Shane?
So first off, I just want to thank everyone here, and thank you, Regina, for hosting us, the Chamber of Commerce. It's an honor just to be here. So my name is Shane McKinney. I'm running for District 6. And before I tell you what I will do, I want to tell you what I won't do. I won't make a bunch of promises, and I haven't got everything solved. So I'm not up here to tell you I know how we're going to get everything done perfectly. And I'm not going to be verbose. My goal is to be succinct. I think you'll appreciate that with this many people tonight, so I'll keep it moving. My pillars, what I stand on: infrastructure equity, quality tourists, and neighborhood protections. Why me? The difference between me and so many others is transparency. Every single thing that I take in, all the conversations we have behind closed doors, I will post it and make it available, and I will let you know how I intend to vote and invite everyone to work with me and to make that vote collectively as one voice, not just mine. I am not what's important. I have coast-to-coast perspective, having lived in San Francisco, Boston, West Palm Beach, Florida, and now Galveston. I've seen just about everything you could possibly see on the coastline, and I've survived almost all of it as well. Well, I'm here. So another thing about me is I go to all the city council meetings, and while that may not sound so exciting, it actually is exciting to me. And win, lose, or draw, my intention is to continue. I really like being immersed in this community. I happen to love this community. I know it sounds a little cliche, but I'll be there one way or the other. My background is military defense, finance, real estate by means of land survey, as well as title. What I do is I go into companies and I help them transform. I find antiquated companies and I move them, kicking and screaming most times, into the future to find true impact and efficiency. And that's exactly what I can believe I can do here for Galveston. One of the companies that I've worked for, 180,000 employees. That's roughly 3 times the size of this island when you think about it from that perspective. I believe I can make this impact. Shane McKinney, Council 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Jason? No. And then Scott. Yeah. I think they got a little switched. But we'll keep you on track. Don't worry.
Another curveball, Bix. All right.
That's what I do, Jason.
Well, let me start just by thanking everyone for being here. And it's so great to see so many faces out there, familiar faces, from the Chamber of Commerce to the Galveston Island Pachyderm, even to this facility, Galveston Urban Ministries. These are all very familiar organizations to me that I've served in various capacities over the last 20 years. And, I have to admit to my District 6 competitors, I feel like I do have a little bit of a home field advantage here in this facility as well in front of all these faces. But giving a little bit about myself, I moved here in 2004, and I started out as a tourist coming to Galveston. In high school, we came down here and experienced the beach. I went to college here in Texas as well. We would come down and spend our time, ironically, in the very district that I'm running to serve now. Believe me, when I was in college, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be here and have this privilege to speak in front of you all, representing that district that I was in college and hanging out with my friends on the west end of Galveston Island with. But when I was recruited down here by UTMB in 2004, I wanted to get back to Texas. And I had interviews all over Texas. My first one was here, and thank God my first interview was here as well, because it wasn't very smart from an entrepreneur perspective, an interviewing perspective, to give up the leverage that I gave. But after that interview, when I was offered a job here, I canceled the rest of the interviews across Texas and chose at that moment to be a Galvestonian. What's turned out for 20 years since then, over 20 years. So I got married here to my wife, Haley, and many of you probably in the audience know me as Haley Hardcastle's husband, and that's totally fine. That has been my claim to fame for a long time. And unfortunately, she took off and went on a trip this week on one of the busiest weeks of the year for me with some friends, but I'm happy that she's having a good time. But if there's an organization that you served here in Galveston that's dear to you, I've probably worked with you in a direct or indirect way. And that's why I'm running. I think experience matters. I think giving back to the community for decades matters as well. I don't think city council is somewhere where you start. Experience matters. And what I want to do when I'm on city council, back on city council ironically, is I want to focus our city hall efforts internally to be the best fiduciaries we can possibly be for the taxpayers and run as efficiently as possible. I also want to connect us to the resources at the county level, state level, federal level, and in the private sector. And if I'm able to accomplish that, then we're going to be very appealing to the investors that are very bullish on Galveston as well. So Jason Hardcastle, District 6, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Scott.
Howdy, everybody.
Howdy.
Good to see everybody. And Captain Scott Hickman, pleasure to be here. 37-year professional charter boat captain and commercial fisherman from the beautiful island of Galveston. Even before that, as a young 16-year-old, I was a young deckhand here before I served in the Marine Corps, went off to college. One of my claims to fame in my high school years, I was the boat scrubber for Mr. George Mitchell for $5 a day, which I thought was a lot of money back then. It really is a lot of money. And, talking about priorities, everybody kind of talks about the same thing. We're not going to raise taxes. We're going to do this, and that. Of course, public safety is going to be something very important for me. Beach replenishment. I've got great relationships in Austin, endorsed by the land commissioner. Wetland restoration, huge thing for me. I'm a fisherman, professional fisherman. Water's full of fish, clean ecosystems here in Galveston. That's why people come here. And it's good to see some of my conservation friends here in the audience. Our great chief scientist, Flower Garden Banks, Marissa Nuttall, and my vice chair of the Flower Garden Banks Council, Joni Steinhaus, who I just was actually the one nominated her to be vice chair. And used to be our council coordinator, Leslie Clift in the back, who's now with the Galveston Corps of Engineers. Good to see some environmental friends. So I'm not going to go in and just talk about myself too much. I'm going to talk about a story because I spent a bunch of time today with on a Zoom call with the Environmental Protection Agency Association of Retired Persons, and we were talking about this book. And he said, you know what, I'm going to talk about this book this afternoon. And this book's about Galveston. It's about two people that used to hate each other's guts, Buddy Gwendon and myself, Scott Hickman. And the neat thing about the book is that it goes in and tells a story about how we had totally crashed the red snapper population in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America now. And that people were combative, the charter boats hated the commercial people, on and on, there were fights, and we all came together, and I was one of the people in this book that brought all these communities together from Key West to Brownsville, Texas, and collaborated, built a consensus, spent a lot of time in D.C., spent a lot of time with the agencies. We rebuilt the fishery, and we brought these communities back together, and the very people that we used to hate are now our best friends. And we brought the Galveston fishing community back together. I know how to collaborate. I know how to bring people together, whether it be deal with the 14% unemployment rate in District 1 or the issues in other districts. I'll serve everybody here with the same amount of hard work that I've done in my fisheries career, and we've done great big things. And if you do decide to buy the book, it's on Amazon. It's called Sea Change. And Chapter 11 is the best chapter. It's a chapter about me. But, so anyway, I appreciate y'all hosting us here, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. George, but not least.
In my church, it says, save the best for last. My name's George Guajardo. I've been here since 1989, so I think it makes me a BOI. I'm born off the island. So I love, and towards Daryl, he says, this is the jewel of Texas. I know what jewel that is, Daryl. It's the pearl of Texas. So my profession is flood mitigation and mold restoration. That's my business, and I've been doing this since 1989. And my goal, I was here during Ike, and that really devastated my mind. I couldn't believe it. So the next day I got on a boat, got to my business, and I went through the streets and saw all the sand dunes in the middle of 3005. I couldn't believe it. I was like, where in the heck did the sand go to? And then all the dunes were just gone. So my goal and my job for the District 6 is to build better sand dunes, fortified, build them up. Let's put some money into that. And also the infrastructure of the flooding, all the beaches, all the dunes, and make sure that the backside where the wetlands are at, let's make that a good reservoir for flood. When the floods come, that flood goes right into that reservoir and feeds it. I think that we should have some pump stations, built throughout the west end. And also, not just that, but I think we should have a police station on the west. We don't have a police station out there. I think we need some security. There is a police station in Jamaica Beach, but that doesn't take care of everybody. So we need some strong police force out there. So that way, when we have our STR rentals and our, that come out to do it, we have a lot of citizens that are complaining about that, and we need them because that's our tax base. That helps us to get our infrastructures built up and the revenue coming. There's a lot of STRs. So we, also my goal too is to help the smart developers. The smart developers that come into Galveston. We need those people to come in and build. We want them to come. We don't want to push them away. Let's say yes to their build, but they got to make sure that they respect our wetlands, our ghost wolves. The ghost wolves. They have the red wolf gene. So yeah, we want to make sure that DNA stays alive. I'm George Guajardo Jr. Vote for me, aka known as Geo.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Candidates, we're going to move into the round of our forum tonight. There are questions. I remind you have 2 minutes now, not 3, to respond to each of these questions. There are 5 questions we will give you. We will change up the order of the responses, but again, we will start with 4, go to 5, and then go to 6. The first question deals directly with the organization that pulled this event together tonight, and that's the Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce. As a point of personal interest, I'm proud to know that I first got involved with the chamber here in 1984, first joined the board of this chamber in 1985. That just tells you how freaking old I am. But as you know, the Galveston Chamber represents more than 1,000 members and serves as the central voice for the business community. Can you provide specific examples of how you have engaged or how you plan to engage with the chamber to gather input before making decisions that impact local businesses and their ability to do business in Galveston. Alex?
So there was a time last year when we had a moratorium proposed for cruise lines, and I opposed that strongly. And I worked with Gina, many phone calls over that, and spoke to the Wharves Board. There's been other times where I've offered my services to help. I've got people signed up for Lemonade Day. That's a big entrepreneur thing that we want young people to learn entrepreneurship. I've even offered to help build, the guy that fixed my truck, he replaced the roof. His daughter was looking for a lemonade stand out in front of their business, and I offered to build it for him. It's the advocacy for business. So that is what you can do. That is what everyone should do. You have to promote business across the island, whether it be big business like Davy. When Davy came in, I spoke to him. And I think the big thing for anyone that's running for council, and if you're on council, what I've seen is there's a breakdown of communication barriers, and we are portioned off from speaking to developers that want to come in. We get these PUDs that just show up. And why are we not having an omnibudsman talking to council people? If it's in your district, if it's something that you're passionate about, we should all be involved at that conversation at the bottom level to the top. That way, on a transparent level, and we're all adults here. If someone crosses the line, I think we can all hold them accountable. But let's start having those conversations as council people to developers, to small businesses, getting people in our community and growing this business thing. And we have a bad reputation in Galveston for not being business friendly, and I'm going to be a champion to change that.
Thank you, Alex. We'll move to District 5. We'll start with Beau this time, then go to Charlie, and then Michael. How are you going to work with the chamber?
Promoting and advocating for business and community development. That is the statement of the Galveston Chamber of Commerce, and I'm pretty sure universal through all chambers of commerce throughout the United States. My history with the Chamber of Commerce has been through my individual relationship with Gina Spagnola. Gina Spagnola does not get enough kudos. She does not get enough appreciation. She is absolutely selfless for this island, and I appreciate her so much. The thing that I've seen firsthand, mentioned by Alex, was the strong arm of some individuals that basically were pushing for a moratorium on the very lifeblood of opportunity and accomplishments that we've had in Galveston, and that is our cruise lines. Front and center was the Chamber of Commerce advocating against that push. Other things, such as lobbying for the state, or in front of the state, so that not just businesses across the Galveston Island would have lower windstorm insurance rates, but all of us now have lower windstorm insurance rates by the amount of 20%, which is what they are depending on increasing. So I want to make sure, as a council, as our city government, we repair the bridge in the relationship with the Chamber of Commerce and realize all of the things that they can bring to us, and we can all have a seat at the table. And that's what I hope to do.
Thank you, Beau. Charlie?
I've been very fortunate to work with Gina at the Grand as past president, and now she's president of the Grand Opera House. And we have gotten a lot of things done, and we're going to do a lot of things in the near future. I will advocate for small business, and with Gina's help, we can work to bring more small business to town and set them up the right way from the very beginning. The Chamber has a fantastic board of directors, and I know most of those people on the board, and will work with them as a council member and as a council to direct the small businesses in the right direction. So I think we have a really good opportunity here to work with the chamber, and we'll never close the door on having them involved in any decision we're making. regarding small business or bringing someone to town.
Thank you. Michael.
Yeah, it's always been my mission to work with anybody who's willing to work with me. That means working with the chamber, but that also means working with businesses who are not a part of the chamber. If you want to be pro-business on this island, you need to be pro all businesses. I've been in the community every single day. I support our businesses. I frequent them, and I find ways that I can help them. What I hear all the time is, especially from brand new businesses, is they struggle to get onto the island to start a business. There's issues with permitting. There's issues with building out. There's so many issues, barriers that keep them from having a business, that I think we need to spend more effort in supporting that from the get-go. We can't look at the largest businesses coming in and saying they've got the resources. We also have to look at the small ones because they provide to our neighborhoods and our communities. And that's an aspect I think we're missing out on. When I hear from businesses, both starting up and trying to struggling to survive, their biggest issue they see is workforce. They're trying to find people to work for them, and it's a hard time. It's hard to live and work on this island. And I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it is, if we lose our workforce to the mainland, they're going to leave their jobs as well. And then our businesses are going to suffer, and they're going to close. And we're going to lose out on what Galveston is special about. We are not these corporate franchises that you see on the mainland that I know we all roll our eyes at coming to visit. We love the mom and pop shops. We love the little places that we know the owners, we know the staff, that makes us feel special when we go in because they truly care. We have to spend more efforts in finding how we can promote and build the small business from the ground up. And if that means removing the barriers to do that, we can do a better job on council as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on to District 6, we'll start with Shane this time. How are you going to work with the chamber?
Brought no cards on this one. I had a feeling this question would come up. So I've already worked with the chamber at a very light capacity. I'm here in many ways because of them. They've kind of walked me through a lot of the process. And they've held my hand. They've been through my ribbon cutting. And I've got to say, while I'm not a business, they treat me in a way that I think that all new businesses would want to be treated. But the way I see the chamber and how we could leverage them most is as a marketing channel. I don't think it's quite seen the way it should be. But if we look at it from a marketing perspective, we can do local promotion, we can support local mom and pops, and we can do this through the chamber. This is something that is almost a lost means. I didn't realize the value that they brought until these ladies came to me and literally helped me, held my hand and walked me through it. And if we would do that, we could introduce more into our community. I think back, this is a little baby bit of a story. I think back, I travel off to Florida, and while I'm here, I see these commercials. I see commercials, go visit Orlando. And I think, oh, that's nice. But then when I'm in Florida and I'm over in Orlando, what I don't see is a commercial that says, come to Galveston. I think of our cruise ships, and I think that's nice that they dock here, but they don't actually come all the way in and spend the money. They don't actually come through the entire area. And I think through the chamber and communicating these small businesses and what we have to offer, we can bring that voice to our community. Shane, District 6.
Thank you. Jason?
Bix, would you repeat the question, please?
I sure will. As you know, the Galveston Chamber represents more than 1,000 members and serves as a central voice for the business community. Can you provide specific examples of how you've engaged with or how you plan to engage with the Chamber to gather input before making decisions that impact local businesses and their ability to do business on this island?
Well, let me just start by saying I feel like I personally am an example of working with the Chamber. Gina, I don't know how long my wife and I have been members, going back 15, almost 20 years. In full disclosure, though, my wife gets the credit again. I'm Haley Hardcastle's husband. She was the original member when she started her business here on the island. It was located on the mainland, but we brought it here because we could not wait to get back to the island after Hurricane Ike. So I remember serving as the sea crew, one of the original sea crew members, which for anyone who may not know, is business owners and leaders under 40 years old. So that's how long that was. I did not have any of this gray hair back then when I started as well. And then I joined the Legislative Affairs Committee, was asked to do that, and also served as a navigator. So I've been to many of the small business opening ribbon cuttings here as well on the island. And it's truly my honor, and it's been my pleasure to participate as a chamber member in so many different ways over the last 20 years. Well, what I would like to do the most is point to my public record. When the chamber's asked for me, I feel like I have a long record of delivering. When I was on city council before, and City Hall wanted to consolidate commercial trash service underneath one umbrella, trying to force fit every single business across the island to fit under one commercial trash service. I stood against that and made sure that that didn't happen. After Hurricane Beryl hit, I knew how important July was to our businesses here on the island. There was no person that was more publicly advocating to change our message, reopen the beaches, let everyone know that Galveston is open for business, because July oftentimes subsidizes January for many of our businesses here. So public record, matching up with public discussions, and also our private discussions that many of us have had, is extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
This is going to be an easy one for me. So, I don't know, it's been 20-something years. I got a guy named Brad Boney that's running for Republican chair. He came to me. We're working on some legislation on illegal, unreported fishing in the Gulf. And we got the legislation passed. He started working. I introduced him to the oyster people, and they were having a big fight here on the Texas coast. And he told me one night, he said, hey, we're going to go meet with the Galveston Chamber. Steak dinner. You want to go? I was like, free steak. I'm not passing that up. And so we met for dinner, and Gina was there, and we had great conversation and what she was doing for our local fishing businesses and our oyster houses and the local oyster distributors here in Galveston. And that was a long time ago. And talking about collaboration, we've collaborated for over 20 years, and she's probably been one of our biggest cheerleaders in the fishing industry here in Galveston, and our seafood wholesalers and restaurants, and she's amazing. And I could go into a bunch of stories. The successes through Gina have let us be successful. But I'm going to say this. She's the best secret weapon Galveston has, whether it's totally underutilized. We need to be using the chamber more with the park board, with the city, with our National Marine Sanctuary. We need to do more to get Gina involved and let her work her magic. I've been part of it too many times, and she gets great things done. And I'm glad she's my friend. I'm even more glad that she is the president of our chamber. Thank you.
George.
Well, first thing I'm going to do is join the chamber. I'm embarrassed. I'm sorry. You know, I thought about it, and I thought, you know, I'm doing good by myself. But you know what? I see you guys, and I've been to one of the meetings, and I loved it. The camaraderie, everybody's happy, you know. Y'all are just so cool, you know. So I would like to have that ribbon cutting one day.
We can sign you up tonight.
All right, sign me up. So my deal would be to talk to all the small business. You know, when I had a gymnastics business, these kids would come in through the gym, and I saw that potential in them. And my goal was to bring these kids up and then have them teach. You know, give them an opportunity to lead and maybe start a business, teaching cheerleading on their own. With my carpet cleaning business and water restoration, my employees come in and I say, hey, look, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So my always goal is to advocate small businesses. That is the backbone of America, especially in Galveston. You know, we're such a small island, but it's a powerful island. There's a lot of businesses, and every time I go to a business and visit them, I'm not part of the chamber yet, but I am tonight, okay? I always talk to them about, how do you advertise? You know, what is it that you do? And now I can tell them, you need to join the chamber, because you're going to make sure that you get known throughout the people, get your ribbon cutting, get on the paper, so you get more visual. So my goal, when I become the District 6 council member, I'm going to make sure that every single business gets your name and your cards. There you go.
Thank you. Daryl.
Thank you all. So let me make sure I got the question right. how am I going to work with the chamber? Is that the net of it? Okay.
And specifically, how have you engaged or how you plan to engage with the chamber to gather input before making decisions on council that impact local business and their ability to do business?
So I'm going to approach this a little differently. As I said before, I'm a business guy. My wife and I both came to live and work here. I didn't say who I worked for. So I work for IBM. It's a pretty large international business that may have some possible input to the chamber. But I just assumed, maybe incorrectly, the council and the chamber work together. I mean, my natural answer would have been 2 words, but I get 2 minutes, so I'll take them, right, was just ask, right? That's what I would naturally think and what I will naturally do, right? I am pro-business. I want business to succeed. The island has to grow. We have to have, in the West End, we're going to need to have some shops, some things, not just a 3-month period where a lot of people come and then leave, and I still have to drive 30 minutes to get to anything. So working with the chamber is key. So I guess I summarized it. I wrote down 3 things that I thought would be important working with y'all, right? So the first thing, I guess, is going to be message focus, right? Galveston is the jewel of Texas. The West End is the jewel of Galveston. Let's focus on the first part. Who knows that? I heard from a number of people here, why is that message complicated, convoluted, complex, and all over the place? The state needs to know that. We serve 30 million Texas as the nearest beach. Who knows that? Why isn't our beaches being replenished and paid for by the state? They don't think about it in those terms. They think, oh, it's Galveston, right? It's not Florida. So we got to focus our message, be crisp and clean, be pro-business, and make sure that we involve everybody, and including IBM, including all the players that are available. So that's what I would be doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would say to each of the candidates, your chamber stands ready to work with each one of you as you move forward. That's part of our vision. All right, guys, now we take the gloves off, okay? Charlie, you're up first for this one. We're going to start with question 2, and we'll start with District 5. We'll do Charlie, Michael, then Beau. Question 2. The Port of Galveston is a key economic driver for our region. Tell me how you will work with the Port Director and Roger Reese and the Port leadership in their recently adopted new master plan to support growth and infrastructure while addressing community impacts.
That's a great question, Vic. It's I work with Vic Pearson, who is past chairman of the port, and I get an email almost daily about what's going on at the port. The good work they're doing with Davy coming in and the cruise ship profits that we've received for parking and whatever else they're doing over there. I would work with port leadership to make sure that this continues, but they also don't have all their eggs in one basket. We can use ILA as well as the cruise business to make sure the port continues to thrive and creating new jobs. So I think what they're doing now currently is incredible work, and Vic and the rest of the board should be applauded for what they've done. The port is a wonderful economic driver for Galveston. My dad was on the board of the port way back when, so he spoke about it, Vic speaks about it, and I would love to be a part of helping them continue what they're doing. It's amazing work that they do.
Thank you. Michael? Tell us how you're going to work with Port Director Roger Reese and the port leadership to support growth and infrastructure while addressing community needs.
Yeah, so I commend the recent push towards more diversification of our ports. I've spent a lot of time trying to explain to people not from Galveston that there's more to Galveston than just tourism. We have large industry, and we have the ability to put more effort into that, and especially on the west end of our port. And I do like that we've put effort into that. I think we need to put a little more time into spinning out on the west end and our industry, because again, that goes for the diversification that we need, and we've seen during times like COVID or any other time where if one industry goes down, we still have that industry. I do want to say that I think I'd like to better partnerships with the Port, Parks Board, and the city itself on understanding the impacts of bringing in tourists, especially cruisers, to our city infrastructure. We don't get a lot of money for our infrastructure from the cruise ships themselves, but they sure impact our neighborhoods. They impact our infrastructure and they impact our streets. We need to do a better job of figuring out how we can use that impact to make ourselves better, and at what point do we need to say, hold on, we have to look at where and when we're expanding in the port area. Because I think if we go uncontrolled, our neighborhoods that make Galveston special are going to be negatively impacted, and I think that's all too forgotten when we come to let's just bring more people to the island.
Thank you. Thank you. Beau?
In talking about the port, I think it's very important to understand and refresh our memory of where we've come. Basically, 26 years ago, in the next couple of months, we were, as a community, deciding to accept and vote on whether or not to sell our Port of Galveston. For 75 straight years, through our charter, the Port of Galveston gave us a payment as a city, to the city, of $166,000 a year. Didn't matter what their net was, that's what the charter said we will do. This past year, the Port of Galveston gave the city's general budget a boost of $2.8 million. I would say that's pretty impactful. The things that the Port of Galveston and led by Roger Reese that we've been able to do is we've been able to support many of those small businesses. There's many people, I can give an example of my own daughter, who is looking to make a big impact at the new Davies Corporation. I'm very proud of that. That opportunity was not there and probably would not have been there without the leadership of Roger Reese. It's important to me also to look at what that port has provided to my family in the past. My grandfather was a merchant marine who sailed out of that very port of Galveston. To look at it and think about it then, to think about the fact that it could be under control of the Port of Houston, including every asset that the city of Galveston owns through that port, it could be managed and it could be a whole different landscape here in Galveston if that had happened. I'm very proud of what Roger Reese has done. I'm very proud of the opportunity that he has presented with our master plan of 20 years to deal with the traffic, to deal with what we experience as citizens of Galveston, to make a difference, and to give us a place that we will always be proud of, my grandkids will be proud of, and hopefully my great-grandkids will be proud of. So, thank you.
Thank you, Beau. District 6, Jason, we'll start with you this time to remind you the Port of Galveston is a key economic driver. Tell me how you will work with Port Director Roger Reese and the Wharves Board and the staff leadership to support growth and infrastructure while addressing community needs.
Thank you, Bix. Well, I had the pleasure of attending the Port of Galveston open house where they revealed more of their master plan. And what I learned from that, I know I talked to one of TJ's crew about it and was interviewed afterwards. And what I would like to reiterate is the biggest takeaways that I have from looking at that big map, that beautiful map that they had up there, was that port leadership does what it says it's going to do. As we looked at all the developments that we've seen materialize over the last several years, that is what we were told was going to happen. Therefore, based on that experience, I trust port leadership is going to continue to deliver what they're showing us. And what they showed us is that they are listening to the community. There was green space, there was commercial space, there was cargo space, there was industrial space. So based on the actions that I've witnessed personally, I do believe that we are going to get that diversification that the community is asking for. And I think that we need to continue to capitalize on the market forces that give us a competitive advantage. That's what's led to the popularity of the cruise industry, and I believe that's what's going to lead to the popularity of shipbuilding in the maritime industry as well over on Pelican Island. And on that note, I also support and have been a long-time supporter of making sure that we get a new bridge and Pelican Island gets rail access as well. So going back to what I said originally, one of the best things I think I can provide the port is to make sure that City Hall focuses internally and allows the port to conduct its business as an independent agency. Thank you.
Scott.
Well, as a 3-decade member of the Galveston Historic Mosquito Fleet, the port is my home. That's where I make my living. That's where I have made my living. I've watched it, go from a vibrant port during the oil and gas boom to the city leaders selling us out to the city of Houston, watching our docks fall apart, watching the port fall apart. And then I got to watch, just like the Texas miracle under 4 Texas governors, we got to watch the Galveston miracle. It was started by Mike Merswa, and it was finished by Roger Reeves. Friends with Mike, friends with Roger, I'm going to work closely with them. Something that nobody's talking about, that City Council really has a huge input on the support being successful, is if I'm elected, I'm going to have a vote, I'm going to have a say-so on who gets on that wharves board. Having the right people on the wharves board is whether we're successful or not in that port. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, and now I've seen the gray. We don't want to go backwards. There would not be a Texas, there would not be a Galveston if it wasn't for the Port of Galveston. It was the only deep water port west of the Mississippi River. It's why we're here, and we've got to keep that vibrant port going. Jason's right, Pelican Island's got to be developed. We want to cut taxes. The only way to do it is bring industry to Pelican Island, but we need to be careful with what kind of industry, because we do have a fragile ecosystem. So that being said, port's my deal. So I'd love to talk to anybody about the port later.
George, please.
Well, as you know, I'm not a politician. So the port, the only thing I know is like what you guys experienced possibly in 2006 when the ship, all the cruises come in, and when you go through the cruise, you got to go through the port, and you're looking at this place, and it's like, wow, they're doing a good job. It's been, since then, it looks beautiful. So I think with the port, we need to talk to them, be more clear on what they need. And as a team, with the city council, we can make a big decision on what needs to happen. So whatever they need, let's bring it to them. We need to just be good about, giving them the opportunity to grow, and anything that they, as far as, all the shipping, make sure that everything is clean, that there's nothing, messing up all the waterways, so that's one thing we got to be real careful about. But, the port is so good, and it's a really important place to bring all the money that we need, taxes and new industries that come in. So that's my point, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, George. Daryl.
How's that? Better?
That's better.
Okay. So once again, I'm probably going to be the wild duck and might even take some eggs here. The port's great. I mean, it's clearly under good leadership. Things are happening over there. So as on council, I'm here to stay the heck out of the way, right? I mean, that is a wonderful thing. As long as it's improving the livability of the community, I'm for it. So let's be very clear. On the flip side, I'm running for City Council District 6, the West End. The port is not our #1 priority. I have to say that. I hear about 2.8 million. I heard the number somewhere that they run it. That's fantastic, and that helps everybody in the community. The Tierra project by itself will bring in property values $500,000. One project in the West End. That's the economic driver right now of Galveston. That's where the money comes from, and that's where we got to make sure we don't take our eye off that ball. The port is fantastic. It's a growing thing. I think we got to continue, as I said, stay out of the way, but let's focus on the big picture, and the West End is where the money is. Thank you.
Thank you. Shane?
So I got the pleasure of going to to review the master plan. And I got to say, I think it was absolutely beautiful. And what I really liked about it is they put the infrastructure first. A lot of times we go backwards and we think of these developments we want to build, and then we put the roads in. And the reality is you need to put the roads in, have the construction, have the traffic all mapped out first. And they've done a beautiful job of this. They show long-term stability. And I really feel like these are the right people to work with. The port brings tourists. and why that's so important, whether it's on the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, whatever district you're in, including ours. We bring them into our island. We have them. They become members of our community for some short period of time, but in that time they spend dollars with us. They bring in commerce. And so the port is a vital, of just an absolute necessity for us and our tourists and bringing that money in. So I support that, and I support the fact that they're aligned with the Green Marine, and they're doing this in a conscious way. They're not just littering. And we've got what they've got is a beautiful solution. I spoke to them in regards to the police protections, and it's going to increase us. So there's just so much benefit when we think about what the port expansion is doing for us. So I would be an advocate to foster synergy between the Park Board, the Wharfs Board, and City Hall. Thank you. Shane.
Thank you. Thank you. And from District 4, Alex. Thank you, sir.
Our first meeting, we approved a $160 million bond that built Pier 16, Terminal 16 in, 18 months? I mean, that's a feat in itself. In the 90s, the taxpayers of Galveston were subsidizing the port. So we have come such a long way from then to now. We were filling in bursts, $90 million in revenue, never seen before by the Port of Galveston. And we're doing that, and we're going to expand our cargo. We're expanding the West End. We're expanding the cargo business. So that is what supporting the port does. How we continue to do that? Well, we put forth quarterly meetings with the Wharfs Board. I advocated to get more industry professionals. Eric Strandblad with the Galveston, Texas City Pilots. He's on the Wharfs Board. We have industry professionals who know the industry, not that laugh and make jokes about what a reefer van is. It's a refrigerated food unit if you don't know. But, you know, we need to have industry professionals who are running the port. I think Scott touched on that. But the other thing is, how do we work with the Park Board? How do we get people from the cruise ships to go to our downtown businesses, to go to the beaches, to go all around the city and expand that? And then how do we cut down on the traffic? I mean, that's a big concern of everybody. And I think there's a lot of work being done in the internal roads of the port, getting people on and off. There's so many different things that we can do. You know, simple signage where, you know, you're going to the airport, right? And you have little lights that say, hey, Carnival Legend, come here, go this way. That's what's important. That's what we need to focus on. I mean, the revenue that we generate from the port is unseen, unmatched, and we need to give, and I have an affinity to Roger Rees because his family and him have been vilified by people on this island, and he's doing a tremendous job, and I commend him for that and sticking to it.
Thank you. On to the next question. This time we'll start with District 6. Scott, you'll have the first shot at this question, and then George, Daryl, Shane, and Jason. What do you see as the biggest barriers facing businesses in your district today? And how will you work in partnership with the Chamber, GDP, other business entities to reduce these barriers to business growth and connect businesses with tools and resources that help them? We've heard you talk about permitting tonight. What other issues do you see that the city needs to work on to enhance its business community?
Getting a city council that'll vote pro-business would start. You know, I watch a lot of council meetings, and it seems like it's always like 4 against 3, and there's no collaboration. And, you know, we need to build more consensus that's more business friendly, more friendly toward working with the chamber. And currently we don't have that. And, you know, and people talk about working with the state. Believe it or not, Galveston's not very well received when they go to Austin. It's a fact. You know, ask why a fishing guide's running for public office that's endorsed by your land commissioner and your U.S. congressman. We don't have the best reputation in Austin. It's a fact. So, you know, a lot of people don't believe that here. Gina works hard at it, trying to get things turned around. We haven't had a real business-friendly council. We need to change that. I want to change that. Permitting, you know, I have home builder friends that wait 6 months to get a water meter put in on new construction. Buddy Gwendon put in a new deal on the seawall down here, and he waited 10 months to get his water hooked up to open up a new food business on the seawall. That's ridiculous. And, first we got to figure that out at city level. And I could talk about permits on flock cameras for 100 hours. I'm still so mad about that. That's really why I'm running for office, because we got a warehouse full of flock cameras, and they only put 5 of them up in a year at the cost of $2,500 a piece. And I've got a friend's 12-year-old that got pulled off the street and kidnapped because they didn't have all the flock cameras up. The city's not doing their job. People that get elected need to hold staff feet to the fire and make them do their jobs. We need to be pro-business.
Thank you. George?
Well, I have a small business in Galveston. It's grown really big. Had no issues with permitting, but I've talked to people, that have their business here in Galveston on the west end, especially having trouble getting permits to, start a new business. I think what we should do is, like Scott said, be more friendly to the businesses. They're going to bring the taxes in, and they're being a participant of Galveston. So I think that we should allow people to grow their business and give them a chance and see what they really are standing for. If it's doing Galveston good and the community good, and all the the little communities that are like Jamaica Beach. Well, we don't do Jamaica Beach, but all these other communities that want to start a little business, I think we should let them do it. Let's hear them out. Let's not push them away, because we need more. We want more businesses. That'll make Galveston a lot stronger. But we got to make sure that they're following the rules as far as building development, making sure they're not doing so like drugs, selling the reefer stuff. They just shut one down. But good business, nice, friendly, family business is what we need here. So I think we should hear them out, give them a chance, give everybody a chance that has it, encourage them.
Thank you. Daryl?
Please repeat the question.
Yes. What do you see as the biggest barriers facing businesses in your district today? And how will you work with the community, the chamber, to reduce these barriers and connect businesses with tools and resources that will help them? How are you going to address the major issues that impact our business community, such as permitting issues?
Okay, thank you. So, again, I'm running for City Council District 6, which is the West End. It's different than the middle, I call it the family lifestyle section. It's our values. That's what we live for. The middle part, that's experiential tourism. That's all tourists at any price. Then we have the commerce and the campus side over there. The West End, if you're going to have business out there, you got to have people. So I started my discussions tonight with livability, right? If we don't have people living there full time, it's very hard for the businesses to want to be there, right? If they're only going to make money 3 months out of the year, they leave. So that's the first issue that we have to address. And key to that is just sort of the core services that a city provides, water and sewer, right? I've heard Marie talk many, many times about, from Jamaica Beach on, you got septic, right? You got to have drainage. You got to have resiliency, right? I was there in Burl, right? Most of the services worked, but the internet was out for 7 days. My wife runs a family office, financial planning kinds of things. She can't work there. She has to leave the island. So if we want business in the West End, we have to address livability. So that's the first thing. The good news about the West End is we don't need a whole lot to bring people out there once you have those core services. We need hot weather, right? We need plenty of clean sand on the beaches. We need bountiful fish in the bays, and we need the nature that we all have. So we have that. So that's a great thing. And I guess the last piece is responsible development, right? We're going to bring people out there. If we're going to do that and not make them the transient kind of people, but the people that live there, development has to be responsible, and that means addressing all the livability issues that I talked about, core, community, and is it going to be better in the future when the developer leaves? Thank you.
Thank you. Shane?
So a lot of my fellows address this as pro-business, and I think in order to become more pro-business and to have this synergy, we're going to have education. We're going to have to understand what that means. We do need to reduce the permit time, but it's not just for any business. That was pointed out earlier. We want family-friendly businesses, things that we're happy to see around our island, not just more smoke shops and bars and licenses of that sort. We do need to be selective, but we do need to reduce that time to bring this in. And we need to increase awareness of the opportunities. I think a lot of folks don't realize the opportunities that Galveston truly brings. We have a beautiful community. There's a reason so many people come here, and that is what we need to really raise that awareness of. What we bring, why would a business want to be here? We shouldn't lose sight of the fact that there's a reason people come here in what place that we live to vacation, and we should take better advantage of that. These tourists are an economic stream for us. And then, again, just to mention it to Gina, the truth is, when it comes to working with the chamber, you're a marketing channel, and it's absolutely not being leveraged properly. So I would advocate improving that. Thank you.
Thank you.
District 6.
Jason?
Thank you, Shane. Bex, would you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What do you see as the biggest barriers facing businesses in your district today? And how will you work in partnership with the community to reduce those barriers and connect businesses with the tools and resources that help them? How are you going to address those issues at the city that restrict and limit business growth and development?
Well, as someone who lives in District 6, commutes every single day through District 5, District 2, District 3, and works in District 3, I think that the businesses face the same challenges island-wide. And I can tell personal stories about a business that was planning to open on the East End on 14th Street on the commercial corridor. And every single time progress was made, some sort of permitting or red tag issue appeared. So I know also of a development that was almost lost on the West End as well, because all of a sudden, after hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent by developers who are wanting to appropriately develop the land out there, those individuals were told at the last second that they needed an additional egress out of the neighborhood, which was absurd to me, considering it was surrounded by wetlands as well. So what that tells me is that sometimes some of our leadership in the administration at City Hall are looking for reasons not to do something, rather than being solution-oriented on how we can do things. And that's one of the biggest things that I think that we need to address, along with selective code enforcement. And as someone who can drive around town and see that there are derelict properties falling in on each other, yet when someone's trying to improve their business, improve their structure where their business operates, a red tag comes in and tells them they can't do it, which is also cheats us taxpayers as well. I also think that we need to fully embrace technological revolution and utilize AI to perform a lot of the functions that we're depending on our departments to handle now. That will streamline processes. That will allow us to reduce margins as well, as every single organization across the planet is doing. We need to employ that as well at City Hall. And that is what is most fair to the taxpayers and the businesses themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Alex, you're up, sir.
Red Tie Club.
Thank you, thank you. Can you repeat the question, sir?
Sure. What do you see as the biggest barriers facing businesses in your district today, and how will you work in partnership with the community to reduce those barriers and connect businesses with the tools and resources that the city has to help them thrive and grow?
Like Jason, I think we all have similar business problems. I'm going to touch on a personal subject of mine, and it's Poretto Beach. Poretto Beach, we have not received water since Hurricane Ike. The Marshal's Department, for a time, wrote us tickets on a weekly basis. And that's weaponization of a city government against a business. And it's extremely tough for me to talk about because I get accused of sometimes, having a conflict of interest with that. And I do. And I've recused myself every single time. But what I bring to the table is fighting for small businesses and fighting for the people who are vilified, who the marshals harass. And we've seen it. We've seen it all the time. It's on Facebook. We see the red tape. We had what did we have? It was a sign. We had put our sign back up. And R.J. Vanda might kill me for saying this, but he was a marshal. He wrote us the ticket, being instructed to, and then he entered into the record a picture of him in the 70s next to the sign that we've had since the 50s. So, we need to really look at ourselves, change the way we look at businesses, change the way we look at, the community as a whole. We all have a place here. We all have a place business. We all have a place in a community. And we need to start treating each other that way. We need to stop harassment. That's how we do it. And yes, city council, and you need 4 strong votes to do it. 4 strong votes to hold the city accountable and tell them to stop with the nonsense. 10 months to get a water tap, that's ridiculous. We hear it time again, and I got to give credit to Marie. She brings it up, and she is poo-pooed by city management, and it's a problem. We don't have a reputation for not being business friendly for nothing. 1 or 2 times maybe, but when it's repeated, it's a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, moving to District 5. This time we'll start with Michael and then Beau and Charlie to finish it up. What do you see as the biggest barriers facing businesses today, and what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. I think we do need to work on make sure permitting is available and easy for especially our new businesses to get started. I like to see better access to resources. We saw it after Beryl. We saw partnerships coming in and bringing things like the Small Business Administration to our island to show both the current and new businesses resources that are available on both the state and federal level to get those really started. But I think at the end of the day, we can't call ourselves pro-business if we're not calling ourselves pro-people. And that's the 2 different kinds of people. The residents who live on this island who work in our businesses and the tourists who come who shop at our businesses. We have to have a better idea on how to get our workforce on this island so they can work at our businesses and they can promote the opening and the sustainability of our businesses. And we need to do a better job of finding the tourists who come to this island who use our businesses. We see all too often tourists come, they use our resources, they go on a cruise ship, and they come home and they leave the island. We have to do a better job of keeping them here. Let's find the tourists that want to spend time on the island. Let's do a better job of promoting the island. And the city leadership has to be a part of that. We have to send the direction to say we want tourists who come, who spend money, who go to our shops, who go to our businesses, because that's what's going to get our island businesses to thrive year-round. We know there's slow seasons and busy seasons. But we also know that we're doing a really good job of narrowing those slow seasons. We can do a better job of continuing that narrowing gap by bringing tourists in who spend time, which turns into spending money in our businesses. And I think that's how we can support both new and current businesses.
Beau?
This is a great question and dear to my heart. I will tell you that as over the last, let's say now it is 15 years, we have not even established the playbook by which new businesses can come to Galveston and depend on rules that they can follow, and thus why we have so many special requests for PUDs. So that's the first start. Second start is to change our culture. This culture of no, this culture of 10 months to get a water meter has to change, and it changes with leadership. And it changes with leadership that is pro-business. My team on my construction company that I've had here in Galveston for 23 years, and I know very well the struggles at times to get a permit done, is very real. My team only allows me to have a sledgehammer in my hand in my projects because I'm really good at breaking down barriers, aka demolition. So I feel like I've been a great part of that. For the last 5 months straight, we've put on the agenda each time between Marie, Alex, and I to push this comprehensive plan through. We are dealing with a comprehensive plan that is from 2011. And as we all know in this room, this city has evolved quite differently in the last 15 years. And so it's time that we put that as the number one thing to get done. No business can depend on coming into a community to invest money if a playbook is not established. And then that also brings the ability for our staff to not really have those guidelines laid out, which creates confusion on both sides. And then we get the reputation of a no culture. And I am sorry, but at some point in time, that's well-deserved. And I intend to change that. That's one thing that I had a goal, and that when I started 2 years ago, was to say that's going to change, and that I intend to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie?
Well, I think one of the big things we need to do as a city and city council is partner better with Gina and the chamber. If we're talking small business or business in any district, Gina has the inside on all the businesses that are coming in. GEDP as well as the chamber, we should work with them and get that done. What bothers me the most is we have had a mayor and council that have not done anything to change what needs to be changed. We need new blood and people that'll work hard to get these changes made. I think Marie has some good points, but I also think her opponent would come in and really work hard to get the permitting process better and get what we need done to have small businesses come to this town. The council has had an opportunity for 2 years to change things and nothing has changed. That's why I'm running. We have to work to change the processes and the procedures that we currently are under that haven't been changed in years. So hopefully, if I am not elected for some weird reason, the council and the new mayor will make a difference and get these changes made.
Thank you. Thank you. We have 2 more questions. I do want to pause just a minute and thank the folks who are running for office for being timely. We haven't had to push anybody out, and remind everybody in the audience that somebody over here is trying to sell something so they can go to camp. If you're thirsty or need something to eat, go over there and grab something. Question 4, and this time we'll start with District 4. Alex, you get to go up first by yourself this time. Galveston is often viewed, or city council and city administration is viewed often as being an island in the stream, meaning they don't seem to collaborate or work in partnership with other entities in the community. And that may be the Parks Board, that may be the Wharves Board, that may be other community organizations. If you're elected, tell me what you're going to do to create a spirit of cooperation and collaboration between the city council, city administration, and the community to address community problems.
So one thing that I was instrumental in pushing was those joint meetings with the Wharves Board and the Park Board. And last year was kind of a little different situation with the Park Board, but Marty, I really do appreciate your leadership that you've shown over the last year or so. And it's really grown. That Park Board relationship with the city has grown. We're having a joint meeting tomorrow. The Wharves Board, we've had joint meetings with the Wharves Board. It's one of those things. But one of the other things that I think people leave out is talking to the community. When there was an ordinance proposed or a change in ordinance for electric scooters, well, I see every morning and every night the working class guys driving the scooters, moving up and down the street. People that work at bars, they drive scooters. I mean, it's one of those things. And we were going to make it so that they couldn't drive them between 10 and 4. And how does that work for the guy that's working at the bar? How does that work for the working class people? So, talking to folks, talking to Gina, talking to businesses, talking to Marty, talking to Roger, talking to people, collaborating, figuring out, okay, if we do one thing, how is it going to have a trickle effect? We have a tendency, or city council has a tendency, I've tried staying away from it, but of creating a policy and then down the road it creates a problem, and that's lack of foresight, that's lack of planning. For example, I wasn't approving of the allowing of golf carts on the seawall in 2016. I said it's Pandora's box. Then we go through the whole golf cart people election, and we cannot go back and put people out of business who've made a business off of our ordinances that we didn't think of ahead. So let's think ahead. Let's really make good planning, make good decisions, and not just be short-sighted and reactive. Let's be proactive.
Thank you, thank you. We'll move to District 5 now. Beau, we'll start with you. And just in summary, tell me how you're going to promote a spirit of cooperation and collaboration between the city council and city government and the community in general, Parks Board, other organizations, as you're addressing issues for the future of Galveston?
So one thing I'm very proud of is that collaboration. That was something that I felt like that we put as a very important item, because people were absolutely sick of hearing the Parks Board fighting against the city fighting against the Wharves Board. We're all on the same 32-mile island, and people don't want to hear that their taxpaying dollars is being spent and time is spent on the leadership of the infighting that we had going on. There was a lot of growing pains. I do commend Jason for the things that he was able to address and shoulder. He didn't fill us full of excuses. And through that evolvement and with the leadership of Marty, I feel like that communication is the best it's ever been. I can say the same thing about the Wharves Board. The right people are in place that are assigned by council. And I feel that's important to continue that. It's important to continue that collaboration, that communication. For the residents of Galveston, the biggest thing that I feel like I've promoted is discussing our city business out in the open. So many times I've been directed by city management to just go talk to the people in the department. That is what the habits that have been formed do. But I want to break those habits, and I have over the last 2 years. No, I don't want to go talk to that department staff. I want that staff to come present this at our average now 10-hour city council meetings so that the public can see what is going on in our business. I'm sick of our citizens, myself included before I've been on council, of never knowing. We don't know what business was going on until we put it in the public, till we present it, and then we're able to communicate the business that we've done. And I think that communication is absolutely key to repairing that relationship that the citizens deserve.
Thank you, Beau. Charlie?
Can you repeat it?
Sure. In summary, tell me, what are you going to do to promote a spirit of cooperation and collaboration between the city council and city management and leadership and its community as you're addressing the problems and issues facing our island?
I think the main thing we need to do is listen. We need to get together and listen to the issues that each entity has. There's no reason there should be any animosity between any of those three groups because we all need each other. It's beyond me to think that there are issues between the city and the park board, the city and the Wharves Board, but it's changed because people were listening to each other. I just think that's one of the main goals we need to have is get together, meet around a table, and like Alex said, we've all come so far in the last few years to destroy what we put together. And that's a major obstacle that both the Park Board and the Wharves Board and the city and the administration need to work on to keep each other together and listen to each other.
Thank you. Michael, how are you going to promote a spirit of cooperation and collaboration in the community?
Yeah, I think first we got to stop this idea that there's a city and there's a Wharves Board and there's a Parks Board. These are all city entities. These are all entities that are working together for the best interest of Galveston. I do think we're at a really good place with Roger and the Wharves Board, Marty and the Parks Board, that we can finally be at a place where we can work together and be collaborative. But it goes beyond just within the city. I spent a lot of time in the nonprofit world in Galveston, being out in the community, finding those entities that go beyond what the city has to offer or what the city can do. There's a lot of work that can be done on a much quicker value if we partner with our local nonprofits, our entities, our philanthropic groups who are really here to benefit the island from their standpoint and their generosity. I've spent a career working with entities on the state and federal level. If you don't have collaboration, you're never going to get anything done. I spent today itself doing on what we called a field trip around the Galveston Bay area. I was with groups like the GLO, the Army Corps of Engineers, National Wildlife Federation. We had nonprofits, and we had philanthropic groups. And we were looking at infrastructure needs around the Bay and how things like nature-based solution and green infrastructure could benefit those at a cost to not just infrastructure relief to the communities, but the ecosystem services that those provide. We were able to put that together because we reached out to all the entities that had a stake in not just Galveston Island, but in the Bay Area itself. And if you're not looking for that collaboration, you're gonna fail. We have so much that we need to spend money on in this island that we have to go beyond our own tax dollars. The state has to be involved and the federal government has to be involved. And we need to know how to reach out to them, partner with them, and show them that we're good stewards of that money so that when we ask for it, they're willing to give it to us, and then we ask for more, they're willing to give us more as well.
Thank you. George, you're up, 6.
Can you repeat that question?
Sure. Tell me how you are going to promote a spirit of cooperation and collaboration between the City Council, the City Government, the Ports Board, the Parks Board, and your community as you find ways to improve our island.
So I'm called a peacemaker. I like to bring everybody together, listen to their issues, and make sure that everybody's happy about what they're doing and bring them together. And let's make a good decision on what everybody has to say about, their situation. As far as collaborating, listening, being a good listener, a hearer, and then doing. Let's make this thing happen to where we bring the community together and make decisions together. I mean, I think that's a good thing to be a listener, not be that no guy, like they were saying. Be the yes man. But at the same time, listen to what they got to say, and let's come together.
Thank you. Thank you. Daryl? And I realize we're in District 6. We all know that.
My message is being received.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I got 4 things that I'd like to sort of focus on in terms of collaboration and cooperation that I think are important that I would be bringing to the table. So the first is whenever you have new groups, new people, you got to focus on common interests, not divisive ones. So that's where you're going to start. I talked about my view of the West End as individual living communities that have to come together to prioritize. The island is no different. It's not one homogeneous thing. It's a bunch of individual groups, businesses, entities that need to come together. Now, the good news around that is most people, they will be fair if they understand the process. So it's about asking the questions, getting people together and say, yeah, okay, if you prioritize in a fair way, I'll support it even if I'm not number one. So that's the first thing, common interests. Second thing is trust. That's actions, not words. So we have to execute on a few things. When I'm elected, we're going to take a few actions and show people we mean what we say. That's critical. The third thing is you got to give to get, right? So I have to ask all of my fellow councilmen and other leaders in the different boards and stuff, what do they want? What's going to make them successful? That's what brings a team together. It's when they're successful, you're going to be successful. So that's the third piece. And last is just the new energy. My skill set is exactly what this city needs from all that you've said. I led IBM's Smarter Cities initiatives a decade ago. I lead the AI practice for our public sector nationally today. I mean, the things that you're talking about and asking for in our community, I'm different. I bring a new set of skills and energy, and that's going to help me be successful, collaborative with the council and the rest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Shane?
So this one's kind of near and dear to me. The community plus the park board plus the wharf plus the city. Centralize. So team building and synergy, this is the missing element. This problem that we're describing isn't a problem that we have just here in Galveston. This is a problem we have as people. And this is what I do in my company. I bring folks together and we learn to communicate through education. We learn to build that trust. So that's what I would hope to bring here. It comes with education, trust, flexibility. You have to understand and have empathy for the other people in the room, and then centralizing, getting everybody in the room and having the meetings that are sometimes difficult and awkward to have are that first necessary step. You have to include everyone, and you have to acknowledge people for what they bring to the table. And when you do that, you can see that these silos break apart, and we find this synergy, and we learn to collaborate as a family, as a team, and we can do that here in Galveston too.
Thank you.
McKinney. Thank you.
Jason?
Bix, would you repeat the question, please?
Surely. In summary, how are you going to promote a spirit of cooperation and collaboration between the City Council, the City Administration, Parks Board, Wharves Board, and the community as you address issues?
Well, look, I promise I'm always going to be genuine and authentic with all of you. So I recognize that some may say the way to get the better collaboration is for Jason resign from the Park Board and go away. But, I would challenge people that say that because one of the first things that I said that I wanted to focus on in being a city council person is to focus internally. I want to focus on how to get City Hall to be the most efficient operation that they can possibly be, and also the best fiduciaries for the taxpayers that they can be as well. And I look back when I became chair of the Park Board, one of the first things that I initiated was for me and the leadership to go around to all the different stakeholders across that have any interest, from Austin to the county to the port to City Hall, and just say, hey, how can we be a better partner to you? Galveston is important to all of us. How can we help you do your job better? And I think that that's a valuable experience that comes with being a professional and an entrepreneur as well. That is how you create relationships and networks and connect yourself to resources. I also think that my leadership style has been demonstrated in 3 vastly different ways on the Park Board. And I think that that helps foster relationships as well. With Kelly, I was kind of in the background. I was kind of smoothing things over constantly. With Kimberly, she preferred someone else was on the front line. So I was out there taking a lot of shots, a lot of strays, but biting my lips and bearing it because it was best for the organization. And I thank you, Beau, for what you said earlier as well. With Marty likes to handle things a little bit more entrepreneurial-wise as well. So what that is more collaborative talk with one another in leadership, and Marty taking the lead, whether that's out front or whether that's behind the scenes as well. So I think with all of those different aspects that come with professionalism and entrepreneurship, I think that will bring the best possible relationships with all our stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Scott. Captain.
Thank you very much. So I served on the Galveston County Marine Debris Task Force for years, and I believe Joni did too. And Kelly was our Park Board executive director then, and she was decent to work with, and we got some stuff done. But I will say this: a family that I handle a bunch of the ranches across Texas and Kansas, and they have a lot of property here on the island, and we had a beach drainage issue. And I had my first meeting with Marty, I think it was 4 weeks ago. Professional, collaborated well with us, the problems, and I will say that afternoon there was a piece of equipment on that property, redigging the ditches so it would drain and our guests at the RV park wouldn't have to swat mosquitoes for the whole weekend. And I thank him for that. I look forward to working with him in the future. And we definitely got a good guy there, and I think we raised the bar with Marty. So, and I'm going to work with everybody in a collaborative way that we can get things done. I showed I did that with Flower Garden Banks. I did the largest marine sanctuary expansion in U.S. history as the chairman. I was told by the House Natural Resources Committee I'd never get the American Petroleum Institute and the energy people to sign off on it. I said, hold my beer and watch this. 33 3-hour meetings later, we got everybody to agree on a plan, and we protected all the corals across the Gulf of Mexico. They can still do horizontal drilling under those structures, and we still have the ability to shrimp and fish around those areas, and we protected all those vital ecosystems. That's what I do. I collaborate and get things done.
Thank you, Captain. And for our audience and for the candidates of order, this is our last question, okay? And we'll start with you, Charlie. You get on there first. Question 5. The Planning Commission recently recommended approval of Discovery Sands development on the West End. Do you support granting the requested variance, yes or no? And what conditions would you require for its approval?
Well, not being in the building right now, I have not seen the details of the variance that they're requesting. From what I've read so far, it's a real stretch, but I would have to really see the details in order to make a good, fair judgment. We do need development, and that's a very nice development, but I need to see what it said, what the details are of the variance.
Okay. Michael.
Yeah, I'm going to speak on just development of buds in general and not focus on an individual property. I'm willing to wager, I'm going to say something that's probably not going to be set up here by some of my colleagues. There is very little evidence that says development is going to bring in net tax revenue. It's as simple as that. All too often, development costs the city money. We hear it all the time because the most development we have on the island is on the west end. But we understand that they're very in need of infrastructure. That's going to come from us. We have to spend the money to support development so they can make their profits. It does not always mean that we are going to get a net revenue gain. We have to look at individual projects on what those developments are going to do for Galveston. And I think all too often we see PUDs as a developer comes in and says, these are the rules of the city, but if the rules are changed, I can make more money. And they've seen a precedent set that all they have to do is ask for change, they're going to get it, and the city is the one footing the bill. We need to look at developers that want to come and be a part of the rules that we set in place. We're going to go forward with this comprehensive plan. The goal is for it to last 10 years, but we've seen in the past that maybe 15. We have a big chance right now to select a city council that puts in ordinances and puts in a comprehensive plan that shows developers there's a lot of money to be made on this island, but do it the way it's going to benefit Galveston and benefit the residents, and then you can still make your profit and expand as we need.
Thank you. Beau?
As a current city councilman in District 5, I serve as the ex officio on the Planning Commission. There was it was very important to me to really study this development because people wanted answers. In short, to answer the question specifically, yes.
Okay.
I will support that development. There are still things that I feel questions need to be answered between the Planning Commission that happened yesterday and the next City Council or whenever it is presented to the City Council. The thing that I most appreciated, the developer was able, he had no problem negotiating what was better for Galveston, but yet still meet his bottom line. The infrastructure that was discussed was a big part of it. This developer has offered to put in his own sewer treatment plant. Not only that, he offered yesterday to put an easement in so that that sewer treatment plant could be doubled to serve those islanders on the west end that are still under gravity-fed septic that still exist on this island in quite big numbers. There also was the discussion of the wetlands, which was very important to me for the simple fact that there is no purpose in destroying those or filling those in. They serve a huge purpose here in Galveston. There is no wetlands to be filled in for that development. In fact, the entire block of the existing wetlands will be put into into a easement to never be touched and to still be enjoyed and to still take in the concerns that our Jamaica Beach neighbors have. I wish I could say more.
I know. Thank you so very much. And we understand your unique knowledge of it because of your work with it. Thank you. District 6. This is big for you. And Daryl, you get to start.
Daryl, District 6. Yes.
This is Daryl running for District 6, if anybody didn't pick that up tonight.
Has my message gotten across? So this is big, and I talked about it at the beginning, right? When I talked about livability, right? And livability and the three issues around livability, and now we're just talking about how developers will impact that. So let me talk about my thoughts, because I have not read the document, so I cannot say I'm for or against until I read it. But I will say I'm for it if, right, it addresses the livability issues that are important to the West End, right? The first is core, right? Make sure I got them all, right? Water, sewer, police, fire, roads, traffic, electric connectivity. If what they put in, and one of the gentlemen up here talked about it, if we're footing the bill for that, that's not great. What are they doing to help us? Because these developers are all coming for our resources. They want the beaches, they want the bays, they want the birds, they want what we have in the West End, so they need to contribute. So that's the first thing. Are they going to impact those basic services or not? Second is the community impact, right? If somebody comes in with a developer, I talked about the West End's a bunch of living communities. How are they going to impact those communities, right? Coming into that spot where they are might have a huge impact on Sea Isle and traffic, but zero impact on Avia, right? So we got to really look at that and get them to talk about it. Third is legacy. The developers come, they make money, they go. Is the West End and Galveston for that matter, going to be better for the family values the West End represents when they've gone? I believe all these folks need to have a written livability plan, and the last and most important issue is if they say a bunch of stuff but don't deliver, what are our enforcement options? That's the most important thing, is if we don't have the enforcement options, it really doesn't matter. We need to have that so we hold them accountable. West End, we need them to be the livability, West End first. That's my thought on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shane? And then Jason after Shane.
This one's a little trickier. So the community, the West End community, if you're reading, you're keeping up on this, the answer is no. We don't want Discovery Sands, and I'm not for it. It comes down to things like the night sky, seeing the light pollution, the sounds, our conservation of land, the wetlands, all of these areas being interrupted. And this will take from our character. But even at the core of this, one of the more basic things, if we just rewind, I said earlier, infrastructure first. We do not have the infrastructure to support this development. So think about a hurricane and think about your evacuation. It's going to be compounded. And that is something, it's not just fear, it's an actual reality. And we won't know it until it's too late. The developer's left with their money, and we're stuck here in what could be a disaster movie. This is not something we need. I'm for responsible development and not just development as a whole. I think when I look around the 6th, I look at Antigua. That's a nice piece of property. I look at the Commodore. It's a little further down, but also a nice piece of property. Instead, we're looking at land that has not been broken, area that we could use for conservation, area that can act as a natural sponge in flooding times. And we're proposing building there when we have areas, prime areas that could be built. And again, our infrastructure does not support a structure like that. I am not in favor.
Thank you. Thank you. Jason?
So one of the platforms that I want to push and want to lead by example as well, and I think if you look back at my history of serving this island, is that I am very supportive of appropriate development on appropriate real estate. And I realize the differences between the West End and the East End. Yes, I would rather see development and redevelopment behind the seawall, where the infrastructure is much more vast and can be much more supportive to the additional strains. But I also understand that when it comes to economic development, there are 3 areas that we need to focus on: maritime, hospitality, and healthcare. And to me, one of the things that I've also learned is that on City Council, you appoint all these committee members to all these vast numbers of committees that answer to the City Council as well. And one of the most hurtful and disrespectful things you can do is appoint these members to something like the Planning Commission, and then once they make a decision and send it up to City Council, start criticizing them in their efforts and their decisions. So that's something that I'm sensitive to as well. On City Council, one of the things that you notice, and also on the park board, is that a lot of times in Galveston, the committees and the boards and the organizations don't get out of their own way and end up damaging the future pool of who these volunteers are. So that's something that I want to make sure I respect the Planning Commission's decision as well. So with that said, because this is a commission that sends their recommendation to City Council and City Council makes that decision, yes, I would support it. Because one, they've done all the research, they've sent it up, they've said that this is in a sensitive area, but good deals are being made with the developer, and it is going to have minimal impact as well. So unless there was that's completely misleading, I would support that recommendation by the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thanks. Captain?
So I was at the Planning Commission meeting yesterday, as Beau was. I think I was the only one running for office or that's on council that sat through it. And I have met with Jeff Blackert and his team at a lunch about 3 weeks ago. And I will tell you the devil's in the details. And they've come a long way from where they were. You know, as far as me telling them that I believe in sustainable development. You know, if you're going to go in an area and you're going to make a bunch of money off the environment, you need to build living shorelines. You need to do bird islands. You need to do a lot of things to really not just mitigate what you damage, but to add to the natural ecology of that site. I will say this from a fisherman's perspective. Having the ability to stop the sewage that leaches into West Galveston Bay from the west end of this island, from all that old, some of it 70-year-old septic systems. Some of those houses aren't even there. There's still septic systems in the ground. High tides, big rain events, it's going in the bay. It kills the seagrass. That's why we lose our seagrass on the west end of the bay every year. And then tide carries it around, goes up the beachfront, and then all of a sudden we get high fecal level alerts when they're testing, and they put it on the Houston News, and nobody comes to the beach. A lot of that is coming from those septic systems on the far west end. The idea that we got a developer that's going to take that capacity and quit letting all this human waste go into our bay system, my fishery, where I make my living, where our families like to swim on the beachfront, that's a huge bonus. But devil's in the details. That council holds their feet to the fire. They do the right thing. They can build it regardless. They just can't do a few of the things that they've asked the Planning Commission to do. So it's going to move forward. We want to make sure that we benefit from it the most.
Thank you. And George.
Well, I watched the city council a while back, and I remember when Mr. Blackard, he came up to the council, and they asked him an important question: did you do your studies on the wetland? And it was a no. But now that I heard Scott and Beau talking about it, I'm all for it. Just got to make sure that we have the infrastructure on the travel for when the hurricanes hit. They got to be able to escape that, the island quickly. So with all the signs, maybe put some new signs up there that shows the arrows which way is the evacuation. I think it's a go for me. So I got full support on that Discovery Sands. And there you go.
Thank you. And for our candidate for District 4, Alex. The last comment of the evening, sir.
So I know there was a big push to say no to this development. And, I'm remiss to say if you just have to see the devil's in the details. And I do appreciate having a good city council member as the ex officio who's a builder. Our planning commission has split the vote on a lot less of an ask. So I'm leaning towards a yes, but I'm going to find that one vote that voted no, and I'm going to see what I can do or what we can do as a council to change his mind or negotiate that part of the deal. That's what the PUD process is a negotiation, and I've used it in the past as a negotiation. Sometimes it is a no, and we vote yes, but that's after the details are worked out or what would work for the city, what would work best for the taxpayers. The West End sewer debate's been going on a long time, and we definitely need to get that off of the septic system. I mean, that's something. I mean, you have clay asbestos pipes that are leaching into the bay. I mean, that's another problem. I employ everybody to watch the meeting. I can give more than the 2 minutes worth that it deserves. But again, we put these people on these boards. We trust them to make the decisions. This was deferred once. So this is, again, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of negotiation, a lot of speaking with Mr. Blackard and developers, and I've spoke with them too. And you know, let's draw on what is important to Galveston, what we can do to best benefit the taxpayers and the residents, and not be a burden on our system, because that's the biggest thing. We're one of the largest tourist destinations away from, you know, the fourth largest city in the United States. Let's really focus on what we can benefit from as a city, rather than just putting anything out there. So thank you, and we appreciate everybody for being out.
Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, give these guys a round of applause. You've done marvelous tonight. We appreciate very much your being here. You know, we turn on the news every night and we see polarizing positions in Washington. We see people that are way out here and people that are way out here. What we saw here tonight is a lot of people that want to work well together. It was interesting. I was actually driving out to Sea Isle, District 6, to fix a sign that my daughter had put out there. She's got a piece of real estate out there listed for one of her clients. And I was listening to old 70s music, which I love, and a song came on. And if you remember the song, Dave Mason recorded this song in 1977. He was a minor pop star back there. But the chorus of this song, the name of the song is We Just Disagree. And the chorus of the song says, there ain't no good guys, there ain't no bad guys. There's just you and me, and we just disagree. You know, we can be good guys, we can be bad guys. If we disagree, we're still all Galvestonians. And I really thank you for your opinion, the way you dealt with things tonight. And I hope you take that forward. Remember to everybody, early voting begins April 20th and runs through April 28th with Election Day on May 2nd. Thank you, Gina, and the Galveston Regional Chamber and our amazing staff for putting this on tonight. Thank you, candidates, for being here. Drive safe. Pardon? Go buy some Poretto pie. That's right. Enjoy it. And thank you for being here.
Well, mine don't stop. Thank y'all so much for accommodating me here. I appreciate
Sorry,
it, Daniel.
I didn't work.
Hey,
there's always a solution,
clean,
right?
It was clean as a bell.
Yeah.
I was quite happy with the audio the whole time. So
You mix it yourself and all that, or do you mix it yourself?
Nah, I just take this straight up and run the camera. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad it worked out.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate it.